Hey guys, this is me Avi Dwivedi and you are listening on Extended reality Developers of India community. Today is going to be very special day because we have none other than the co-founder of Nodding Head Studio, Nodding Head Games. We are going to talk to him about his recent launch, which is Raji. And Raji is the game which made India very proud because from India we can totally see the Indian style of gaming there. We can see the Indian artwork, we can see the Indian story in the game. So let's discuss with Avichal. Avichal is here with us. We are going to discuss first. Obviously, the introduction because a lot of people know you, a lot of people want to know you. So let's tell us what is your story.
Hey, Avi, thanks for having me here. And, just something for the viewers. Avi has been trying to reach me since many months. It's
Yeah.
just all the Sundays kept getting occupied, but I'm really happy to be here with you. So, you know, yeah, so my journey, how I started all of this is all the way back when I was a gamer as a kid. Uh, I could say a very hardcore gamer. I used to play all sorts of genres. I think I loved RTS and FPS the most. And in FPS, it was Counter Strike. In RTS, Age of Mythology, Age of Empires, Rise of Nations, anything I could get my hands on. So, as a gamer, I was not, as a student, I was not good at studies. So, of course, gaming was demonized back home. And I am from Lucknow. And, I used to uh, go to Zapak, Sifi Highway, and find internet cafes, which I could turn into gaming cafes. And I've done so, and I've had some partner in crimes over this thing. And from that, when finally I was clearing my 12th, there was this transition of what college you want to go to. And I was not good at studies. I never did great at studies, but I was really good at playing Counter Strike. And but at that time, I don't think we knew what was esports or what if there could be a career in as a gamer. And this is in 2008. And we did not know this, but we were very good at, I think, and we did win a couple of tournaments here in India. And then one thing I saw is a lot of students around me, my friends, were going for engineering or becoming a doctor. And it seemed it was very narrow. The funnel was narrow of what you could do. And I think that's when I went. And I think animation arena is something you see the billboards around Lucknow a lot, and Mac.
Hmm.
So that used to stick with me, that animation, at least that's something I could pursue. But when I finally sat down in this cafe and I started researching about animation, and the more searched about, I found game design. And the more I read about game design, the more I felt this is my place, this is where I belong. And animation is not what I want. Now I want game design. And that led to me finding this college in Pune, which is the DSK Supinfocom. And from that, I went back to my family. They were very confused about what he wants to do. And they knew he's not good at studies, so probably he'll flunk in engineering anyway. So they did decide me, to just have me try this out. And I was there for 4 years, 2010 to 14. And I graduated. And then I had my final year project. We got the best out of all projects. And then I got a job at Zynga. I worked out on Farmville for almost more than a year, I think. I was at Zynga for Farmville and Empires and Allies as a game designer and level designer. So during that duration, is when behind the doors Raji was also being conceptualized, or I was trying to find the right people to work with. And thankfully, in 2014, the year I was graduating, I happened to have gone to Jaisalmer, 31st December 2013. It was a painful journey, Pune to Mumbai in bus, then Mumbai to, I think, Ahmedabad, Ahmedabad to Jodhpur, I think it took 22 hours. And after that torture, I finally reached Jodhpur, and then I was there for only one day. Next morning, we had to leave. And in Jaisalmer, I came across this place called Patwo Ki Haveli. And when I was there, it's a Haveli from early 17th century, and of course you have the big fort and world's second largest fort there. And all that during that journey, I think when Patwo Ki Haveli, I was there, this one frame in front of me with no people, no wires. It's just I felt teleported to that era. And I asked myself, why is this not in video games? And that's the feeling that just stuck with me. Even I was, I had still had 1 year at college to go, and then later 2 years at Zynga to go. That feeling of, maybe we should do something about this. And now that I'm a game developer, and I know people who would be interested to do probably something like this, and I think that led me to discussing this idea first time with Shruti Ghosh, who's a co-founder, and she's one of the art directors, and she's also responsible for the art style. So this was just a very short chat in 2014, and we connected over Bastion, Transistor. We loved Supergiant games, so that, and we were friends for the years later. And I also met Ian Mott, who's our co-founder and also one of the art directors. We have two art directors, and and I discussed this with him also. And only 2 years later, when I was at Zynga, I do remember not being satisfied with what I was doing. And while everything you could say was great at Zynga, working on a big IPs or in teams of 60 people, 40 people. Yeah, I learned a lot of things. But that somewhere I had an indie in me. And, fun fact, I had taken part in 12 game jams until then. So I
Wow.
knew, yeah. So I had this thing inside me of creating something. And I think Shruti, Ian, and I think one of the first members to join us, Linus, who I also met at college, and Paras, who's a programmer from my batch in college, all of us shared this passion to create something of our own. And it just, that things aligned for us. And even though we knew financially this was going to be a struggle, and how will we do this, but we just started to at least start. And with whatever savings we had, we decided to go on this journey. And in one of the first emails of these early horrible sketches which I have of me trying to explain some mechanics are from 2015 July. And only 1 year later, 16, is when I think Shruti made the first 2D sketches of what the game could look like. And we took these to our very close friends and asked them honest opinions of if you would play this. And the answer was always yes. It got people really excited. That's when we knew we had something special on our hands. And we took it to uh, the next level, which is, it's a long story. I can keep going on and the entire year, and we'll come to this point.
Definitely, definitely.
You,
And we
you
are
said,
we are
when should I
really
stop?
we were really waiting to hear this story from you. So you told me about how you started from Lucknow. So I can relate to you at so many levels. Uh, Maybe because I'm also from Lucknow, and I also uh, I think our name is quite similar as well. I am sure a lot of people call you Avi as well. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
we
all
share
of
a lot of similarities. Apart from that, I am going to show you the trailer to everyone of Raji. So a lot of people have seen it. A lot of people are still looking forward to it.
Golu! I am coming!
Is this wood strong enough?
Time will tell.
Raji! Please, sister. या देवी सर्वभूतेषु शान्तिरूपेण संस्थिता या देवी सर्वभूतेषु शक्तिरूपेण संस्थिता या देवी सर्वभूतेषु मातृरूपेण संस्थिता या देवी सर्वभूतेषु बुद्धिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः.
There, true bravery is only ever found where fear is strongest.
This shall play out as it should. We can only wait.
So I think there are so many visual elements and such a great trailer, such a great game. I've played the game and I just loved it. It's just remind me how rich our culture is. So I'm going to again. You already told about the inspiration. So I wanted to understand the game and the concept behind the game and the process of creating this game in a chronological order. So I'm going to ask you about a few game. A few in order. So you need to tell me basically what was your process, what was your thought process about. You
Sure.
already told about the ideation process or the inspiration. So let's talk about a concept art stage. So at that you told me that you already had some sketches and you then went to investors or something or
No, no, no,
publishers.
no. No. So before I think any one of us went to publishers, investor. That was not even like 1.5 years later. I
Hmm.
think the first question we asked ourselves: will people really want to play this? And why that was so important. So we took it to some of our friends, and we are game developers. Some of our friends are really from the background of they have played everything and they've seen everything. They play all the indie games there. So we took it to specific people, and their confirmation was important because we were surprising them. We were not telling them this is what we are making. We were showing it and like, hey, would you play this game? Do you think if this thing, Indian setting, was a game? And then came later like, is this yours? And are you guys doing this? I'm like, yes. And then they get excited even more. So those sketches, I think the first sketches Shruti made held the key of are people gonna buy this? Are people gonna play this? Are people gonna love this? And that so I think that step was very important. Otherwise you're stepping into it blindly. There was a huge risk, of course. Indian game by Indian game developer, first game, and we always looked up to great games like Bastion, Journey, Transistor. These were our benchmarks during that time, and because of that, we kept our quality standard really high, which is reflected in the game. And we wanted confirmation, and we can't do a big survey. Later, I have to tell you, the first time. So we made a Facebook page. All of that happened, social media. But you're in a bubble, and only you're reaching like 100 people, 50 people. But the first time we put the footage of art, which is just Raji running around in this very very early block out of a Kickstarter demo, which was literally like the starting three blocks, and it just showed off art styles, some of the mood and aesthetics. I think it got 3,000 likes on indie game promo or indie game developer channel, and hundreds of comments. And that's the first time we knew this game is this is what we wanted. We are making a game for global audience. We knew Indian audience is going to love this, but when we put that thing out there, I think Shruti was really nervous, and we were all on this one PC, and Ian came in and he just duplicated the same block, and Shruti was like, "Don't do this. Why should do we really need to post?" And I was like, "Yes, we have to get it out there, and let's see what the reaction is." I think that reaction from all the folks on Indie Game Dev, a group, just reconfirmed everything we had thought of. So from the sketch to this video being shared, I think you could say a year had gone by. So yeah, that's one of the things.
Also, I was looking at some of the reviews of your game while doing a little bit of research, and the first the first comment I found on a very popular video, I think the video was from IGN, and the first comment I found was the developers got bankrupt or something while making this game. So I would like
Yeah.
to know the story behind that, and also what was the budget of this game, and what was your expectations for that? Okay, I'll close this or complete this game in this sort of money, and what was
Yeah.
and how much it took.
Yeah, so I can't give away all the numbers because of
Surely, surely.
confidential reason, but I'm gonna give everyone a very good idea of what happened. So when we quit our jobs, I quit Zynga. I came to Pune to stay with Paras, and we were working from his apartment. Shruti quit from EA Hyderabad. She came to stay with Ian, and she and Ian were working from their apartment. The team was in Pune. Linus was not in Pune, but this was the core team. We found Himanshu. He's also in Pune later. He's our animator. He's done all the animations, 3D animations. So when at that point we were on our savings. These savings were supposed to last till our Kickstarter. Okay. So our idea was use our savings to make a demo, to make the Kickstarter page and do everything we can using that saving to go on Kickstarter, and then using the money on Kickstarter and exposure, develop it even further. And Kickstarter was not supposed to be the final amount because it was still very less, if you ask me, and we wanted to still get a publisher. So what happened is our savings, they lasted for a good while, but I think we did come to a point where we had to tell our parents, if they could support us. So that's where my dad stepped in, and he really believed in our project. He really believed in me, and I'm very grateful, thankful to him to support this. And followed by my dad, what happened is we did reach the Kickstarter, but after, as everyone knows, Kickstarter did not succeed. We only made $65,000 out of 135 we were asking, I think. And because of that, I think that was the most depressing part of this entire journey. We were frustrated, we were exhausted, we were crunching. We in that 30 days we had tried everything. We did not have experience with marketing, and we did not expect that. We kind of expected Kickstarter to pick up momentum. It happened, but not to an extent that it gets pushed. But after the Kickstarter failed, yes, I think we were staring at bankruptcy. Okay, so that's when I think Ian's mom and Ian's family came in to help us. Shruti had to sell her only apartment, her property in Kolkata, and because of which we were able to survive for a few more months. And these few more months got us enough time to get an Unreal Dev grant. And I can tell you this much: if that Dev grant did not come at the right time, we would have definitely be at that point to take a very hard decision that should we let this go. And we tried. It's been almost, it would have almost be 1.5 years, and we did crunch for like that entire December and prior to the demo release on Kickstarter. So I think once the Dev grant came in, it reinstalled trust. And we were talking to super.com at that time, the publisher, and we were able to secure this deal because we had enough time to go further on with the Dev grant money. And when super.com came in, yes, we were secured. We were finally secured that we'll be able to release this in this period of time. And we were financially stable finally. So all that happened. And yeah, I think that some difficult points were, post Kickstarter was very difficult for all of us I think 6 months, 4 months, and then remember we just sending so many emails every day, talking to so many publishers, doing follow-ups, calls every day, and we were this was it consumes so much time, and we were game developers. We were learning things on the fly. We were not people who knew about marketing when Kickstarter launched. After Kickstarter, I think we really learned about how to survive. I mean, we were surviving. We were bootstrapped for the first 18 months. So all of that, it was a lot very humbling and learning experience for all of us, and especially us as co-founders. And I think that experience is just gonna help us a lot in the future. So all of that happened.
It's a great amount of struggle, but you guys finally did it. You guys completed the game, marketed the game, and it's a remarkable one. Because people are going to remember Indian game industry because of this game. For I mean, there are plenty of more examples, but this definitely set a bar for other creators. So now let's talk about other part of the game, like obviously the artwork. So how important the artwork were in this, and obviously the major part you might have invested in artwork because uh, I also heard about a lot of changes in the artwork in terms of cutscenes. Previously, you had 3D cutscenes and then
Yeah, yeah,
2D.
yeah, yeah.
What was that journey? And since you were also the design team lead, so what was your experience throughout this?
So I'll just talk about art first because I think Shruti wanted to bring in this hand painted art style from Pahadi paintings, and that's where she was coming from. And I think visually, we all knew. First of all, you have, I think she and the art team wanted to do justice to Indian architecture and everything we know about, all the inspirations they were drawing from Ajanta caves, Ellora caves, or Rajasthan and forts and all these palaces. You have to do justification. You can't just throw it in and it's not looking up to the standard or industry standard. I think the art team did a amazing job at that, and after that, even characters, Ian, he was not a character artist, and he actually learned how to make characters during all this duration. And the first character took him 5 months, and the next character took him just 3 weeks. So he was learning ZBrush, he was learning characters. We had David also, who joined much later for characters. He joined us after we got the publishing deal. So in during that process, I think characters came from the Balinese influence, and we knew this is an amalgam, and we always wanted to, we looked at the Indian subcontinent. We did not look only at India, and that's where the Balinese influence comes into the place with the 2D cutscenes and which is called Wayang puppet show in Bali, and that plus how demons are designed with this mask, demon mask, and of course one of the boss fights is also about that. So and honestly, Hindu culture does influence all that far, and we're gonna do a much deeper dive about it, and it was very fascinating to see how certain stories overlap in Balinese culture and Indian culture, and that was fascinating. We couldn't present all of it, but we read a lot of it over the internet. So about cutscenes, this is what happened. We knew we had done 2D cutscenes a test of that Wayang puppet show at the very start. And Isaac, who's a 2D animator from Australia, he did this test, and he also did a 3D cinematics test. He's very talented. He could do 3D cinematics, or he could do 2D cinematics. At that point, 3D looked much more immersive, I think, to us, and all that factor of you actually see the stuff happening in game. Uh, that went on for 5 months. I think for 5 months we worked on 3D cinematics, And at the end of those 5 months, when I think we were still like 1 year away, we could foresee the amount of polish these cutscenes are gonna take is insane. They looked uh, decent, but to have decent go to the global industry standard, that's next. That I think that could have taken 2 years easily. So we took this very risky decision, and I think Ian was at the front of this, and I was very nervous. Like we are now like scrapping 5 months of 3D cutscene work. No one is ever gonna see it, and we're gonna go with 2D. So but we trusted Isaac. We trusted the process. Always trust the process. We knew he's very fast with 2D, and you know what? We ended the game covering all the cutscenes in 2D minus 5 months. So that tells you how much speed at which we worked at, and how efficient we were that. So all that happened, and 3D cutscene is like, yeah, it's like a whole new business. It's another huge chunk. If anyone's wanting to do it, it's very very difficult. So you have to plan it and
Very,
estimate
very
it.
carefully.
I
Yeah.
think you could get the first couple of versions iterations set there, but that's when I think the next step, you need perfect VFX, you need perfect timing, perfect facial, perfect if camera work, and I think just polishing that is actually the bigger chunk. So that's where the decision was taken, and I think it was a very good decision. People love the 2D cinematics, and yeah, they're very unique.
Amazing. So another big amount of interest I had in the sound design of this, because the character voices were pretty natural. I played the Hindi version. I'm sure you might have other languages as well. So I played the Hindi version. The voices were very natural, and uh, I mean, you can actually feel all the sound effects, and it was so many Indian musical instruments. So what was the sound design and sound mixing and sound effects, voiceover, everything? So what was that journey, and how did you enjoy it? What
Yeah.
kind of people you worked with? Yeah,
Yes. So, we worked with Linus, and he's a friend from 2013, I think. And that's when I met him at college. I have my guitar here, and this is the one. Linus was, I think I heard that someone at the college was looking for guitar, and they're a guitarist. And I gave him this guitar, and he played it, and I was like, wow. And I was a beginner. I'm still a beginner. I'm still trying to learn over here. But Linus, I think he's very good at music composition, and not just with guitar, with all sorts of instruments. And so Linus was very interested in the project. He actually had worked a little with me in my final year project in college, and then for Raji, I think. He was very interested. He came to India. So in 2014 itself, Linus had spent 2 weeks, I think, in Ajmer with Master Kistur, where he learned Ravan Hatta. Ravan Hatta is a traditional instrument, pretty much like a bigger, more badass version of sarangi. So Linus was very good at that, and we all loved that sound of Ravan Hatta. It just identified so much about Raji for us. And when we went to Rajasthan, he learned tabla there. He was jamming with the musicians, and in Rajasthan you can find musicians around every corner, which is fantastic culture. And Linus then came back. We did a little setup here. We got him a sitar also, and he went back to Greece. He's from Greece, and he had to go back. That's where his team is. If you see credits, you will see a
yeah.
lot of Greek names. So it's Linus and his band and all his extended family, you could say. Uh, that's where he was able to merge the traditional classical Indian music he had absorbed in here from his experience into his Western learnings. And I think that's where Raji's music was born. And he's done a fantastic job. And we've used so many instruments. We've used, like, I don't know, like probably 24 instruments or something. And in Unreal Engine, we worked with Fmod. Paras worked closely with Linus, and in Unreal Engine, you have triggers. When you go in and out, you want to fade in, fade out, and you choose which instruments should play, and all of it is arranged per level to play specific melodies and according to situation. So that's how the sound design was designed for the game. And for sound effects, yeah, there was a lot of back and forth on iteration about how something should sound and how perfect should it sound. Yeah, you asked
Wow.
something else. I forgot. Like, what was the? There was another question there.
Yeah, about the voiceovers. So, who
Oh
was
yeah,
the voice actor
voiceover.
for Raji? Yeah,
Oh, voiceover for Raji is done by a voice actress. She's called Alka, and
yeah,
our Vishnu, and she's fantastic. She's done Durga's voice also, and she's done Raji's voice.
yeah.
And Sorin, who was a coordinator, and he's also a voice actor. He's done Vishnu, he's done Rangda, he's probably done more. I think he's done Chieftain also, and yeah, he was fantastic. And the whole process for this was kind of exhausting, and you have to coordinate so much, and you're suddenly working with people who are not used to Excel sheets, so you have to kind of explain everything. And voice acting, even the narration, it's so much, such a lot of work. Like, it was overwhelming at a point, but we did it, and the team did fantastic job. And we used to do our own voiceovers just to get a feel of it, and Shruti did the very early ones, uh, for Raji, I think, just to get how would she react here. And I think then Alka came in, and all of this process, I think it easily took almost a year to just have everything finished, from writing to voice acting to the final draft. And yeah, of course, at the last minute, we were still having some changes, which was amazing.
There were very clever element in the scripts, very clever. For example, the Raji was already performing tricks and circus stuff, so that you can justify easily that why she's doing all these platformer tricks and everything. So, yeah, I love the writing. I loved the way stories presented there. Also, would love to know about so many platforms you have targeted, console and Switch. Switch is pretty unique because I had no experience with Switch and never seen an Indian game of Switch, and you bring it on. And so what was the experience about targeting so many platforms, and what were the challenges of that?
Yeah, before that, quickly, I'd like to say a lot of people do not know this, but the story of the game, the everything about the story was written primarily by us, Nodding Heads Games. We did have a narration writer, Ian Thomas, but I think I'm very proud of the fact that we have massive documents about story, and I think I'm proud of those because I made them. And yeah, but Ian, Shruti, me, we worked a lot on the story. It was we asked five W's and how about every single element, every single character, every single element in the game. And then for story, we followed a different process. Uh, and yeah, I'm just happy it turned out very well. Now, talking about platforms, yes, I think Switch was a very special platform. I think we always wanted to target all platforms. We knew that we gotta get the dev kits somehow, anyhow. We were able to go to not dev play, sorry, EGX Rest and PAX Seattle. So during that, it's an opportunity to talk to Microsoft or Sony. Like, we need the dev kit. How are we gonna do this? Getting a dev kit is a big pain in the ass here in India. India sometimes is not even a region considered, when it's just part of the bigger region, and they have never sent a dev kit, and they're all like, we never sent a PS4 dev kit here. What do we do? How do we send it? So there was a lot of you know a lot of time just gone into that, and uh, So talking about Switch, why it was special was I think we knew indie game world how big this event is, and the moment I think we Nintendo emailed us that you guys want to get on this event, I think we were all like losing our mind. And this was a great opportunity which could not have been passed. Those kind of things happen very rarely, and we were just so proud that we were going on an event, such big event like this one with Nintendo. And I think for that we did shift our focus towards Nintendo. And uh, Nintendo trusted us. We really wanted to get on this event. We were a very perfect candidate for them, and they loved the game's quality. They loved the setting. They loved the story, and yeah, I mean, we love super giant games. So when we were here, like in my apartment on the launch day on Switch, and I have a video from there, and we saw that super giant games is also on here. Like Hades was announced that's gonna come on Switch, and I think we were just like, yeah, a lot of us were very emotional that day. The game had launched. We Before that we were crunching for like 8 straight months, no weekends, no. I mean, there was a crazy crunch before that for just to optimize the game for Switch or make sure it's running perfect, it's presentable. We care about quality a lot, so we did, and we knew everything is on the line for this one, and we cannot, launch with a bad impression. No way that's
Absolutely
gonna
not.
happen. So the team was really hardcore into it, and that did burn us out. So we are changing the way, we've had a lot of learning experience, so we're gonna change the way we work about this. We're gonna make sure some excessive is kind of crunch does not happen. But I think all this people were expecting this to happen, the team members, because it was a first game. And yeah, I think we got it done. And yeah, it was really tight. The deadline was insanely tight for us, but we knew we could see the finish line, so we just have to keep sprinting.
Also, Raji is a PC game, so targeting it to Switch must have been very hard on optimization. So, what was that journey?
So we did know that we will launch on Switch from day one.
Hmm.
And when I say day one, we're talking about 2018 when we signed the publishing deal with Super, not before that, because before that, I think it was all that financial struggle and can we
Hmm.
even survive. So
Hmm.
at that time, we were just thinking PC, I think, and
Yep.
we knew we could launch on other platforms. If it's running on PC, we could port it to other platforms. But of course, porting is a whole different ball game, and especially for Switch, as you said, it's a very the hardware of Switch is a little, you know, uh, not a little, but it is less powerful compared to even the old Xbox. Uh, so we knew we had to make sacrifices, and we had to be smart. We did a lot of smart things. We did level streaming. We did a lot of optimization, a lot of LODs, thousands of LODs. We did so many other smart things. I can get into technicalities, but let's leave that out here because it was a lot of work, a lot of focus was on Switch, and we wanted to make sure it runs on 30 fps and it looks great. And I think we were able to get very close. We did do a patch later to fix some of the issues, and we were very thankful for the community to be pointing out and tweeting us or on YouTube, telling us, these are a couple of places where I see these issues. And yeah, that was there for Switch. I think we were expecting to do patches, but yeah, I think we launched with a pretty stable and solid product. So yeah.
Also, would love to know about the publishing journey because for a lot of creator, publishing, getting a publisher is a hard task. So, what was your experience about that, especially when you are looking it for a very different game? It's a game in Indian settings and targeting Western audience, you can say. So, what was your experience? It's hardly been done on that kind of scale act you did. So, what was that
Yeah.
experience finding a publisher for your product?
Yeah, I had a line back then that finding a publisher or money to make your game is the hardest thing you will ever do. Forget innovation, forget optimization, forget making a team. The hardest thing to do will be finding publisher. If you're especially looking for money and publisher, that is like insanely hard. And why? Because no one's ever done that. So there's a
Yep.
lot of questions that come with it, like, is are people actually going to buy this? What is the hype? What are the wish list? What are people really care? And we had to bring, so the good thing was Raji got a lot of coverage throughout its journey, even during Kickstarter. Like the day we got PC Gamer article, and we got a Dual Shocker article, we started seeing more and more articles. It confirmed that there is interest. So you have to present it to the publisher so they understand your point of view. And I think one thing that worked for us, or kind of was a dual edged sword, was the quality of a Kickstarter demo. It was so good that some people used to think that the game is finished, and
Wow.
they were asking us, where do we buy this? And we were like, this is like 2 years away, like this is just a demo. And that, then that sets expectations and all of that. But I think one thing did that go for the team is quality of the demo was reflecting quality of the team. And knowing that the co-founders come from these known studios, that I think worked for us. So getting experience is very important. uh, and I think the game's demo was impressive. A lot of people, publishers who I can't name, they used to get back to us that Raji ended up in the top 5 of a 300 game list, but we can't go with it, and they wouldn't tell you why they can't go forward with the deal. So that, that really hurts, that you were so close but you can't know. And it's a risk. People, publishers take risks. They assess their risk all the time. And boss, yeah, I think finding a publisher, I remember there was this time I was sending like dozens of mails, personalized emails every day. And you just have to find the right publisher, or the publisher who is willing to take this risk. And I think we were happy with what we found. And rest is history.
Wow. So, with Super, what are your experiences now, and did you find the deal best?
Well, deal best is like very subjective, but yeah, I think we were able to launch Raji, and they were able to trust our product. I think that was the best part about it, that someone out there still believed in these people from Pune who are
Yeah.
just trying to make it big. And the game's done well on the launch. We got so much hype in India itself, and we, because of Indie Game Award, and then we got Game Award nomination. It, I think, goes on to show, yes, the game did manage to go beyond places which we did not expect at the very start. So working with a publisher is yeah, is a different experience than working with your own team. You have to keep up with every single date you mention, every deadline you mention, what they are expecting of you, all the platforms, all the conversations. Suddenly this becomes exponentially bigger. You're now dealing with localization teams, you're dealing with QA teams, you're dealing with the marketing team, you're dealing with the if someone's working on the CGI trailer there, and you have to keep giving feedback. You're dealing with journalists or interviews that are being scheduled for you. So did get really a lot busy, and we just had to keep doing it. And every interview you keep saying the same thing almost. Yeah, so some interviews are really well, like when they ask a new question, we are like, yes, that's a new question. But some, yeah, everyone wants to know the journey and story.
Yeah.
And which is cool. But I think we were just so burnt out and exhausted. And it's like you make the game, and there's this whole other side of it which we were being introduced to. And I think we knew we had to do it. We are very good at adapting to the situation, and I think that's where we shine. And we just adapt and just take on and just then go to the top of it. Yeah.
So after finding the publisher, finally you completed your game, but still, there's a big elephant in the room, which is marketing and PR.
Oh yeah, big, big one.
What about that? What was that experience?
Marketing. Oh, marketing is a big, big topic, and we are becoming more and more aware of how marketing works and
Yeah.
how certain things do not work, how certain things will only work for specific genres or specific games. All of these are learning points for us. PR, PR, how and why should a journalist write about you when he has like 100 other emails from
Yeah.
indie game devs? All that was, I think we had a very good story with us, and the novelty of it, that Indian game, Indian setting, and again, the quality of the game. Whenever the journalist clicks a mail, sees the screenshot, they know this is just, looking much better than everything uh, probably they received today. So that ups your chances. Then they're looking for a story. Then they're looking for, is it going to make an interesting article on their website? So all of those things we had to learn, research how to approach, maintain relationships with all of these platforms. Yeah, and marketing, yeah, you have to really think about what is your hook. I think the base of all marketing is at its very three-line pitch on Steam, which you write on Steam or your Facebook page. Does it excite and invite people? Because we are in a war of attention with all the million things out there, and you're trying to make a new product, you're an indie team. How can you get someone interested in what you are doing? So I think that was pretty sorted, because uh, you know like I said, when we got the confirmation on the video, which went kind of viral on Indie Game Dev, and the pitch, we knew the pitch had its power to draw people, and I think that's where the base was set. This is on what everything else will be done. And when it came to marketing, to acquisition, to influencers, to CGI trailers, other trailers, yeah, that was a whole lot learning experience. And how Steam works, how do you get featured on Steam, or how certain things work, and the aftermath is how do sales work, what's the cooldown, which sales should you target, what should be your strategy with sales. There's a lot of learning all throughout the process, even after your launch. Yeah.
Wow, it's incredible journey. You lived your 3 years of your life last to the fullest, I guess.
We
I think you saw
someone asked
everything.
us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we have seen a lot of things, and it has been a blur. We really, uh, 2017, 18, 19, and even 20, till October, I think. If you ask us or we talk to each other, this happened. The other person will not remember what happened. Like, I don't remember this, and even showing photos and videos does not trigger that memory.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the living it. You constantly working, and we were going through all of this. It did become much bigger than I think all of us had thought initially. But I think we did up our game every single time it happened. But yeah, it
I,
was great. Yeah, lot of this experience is gonna go on to the next one, and I think we will be doing a much better and approaching things in a from experience, which is great.
I think the biggest part of a success story is the team. So What was your experience with your team? How did you figure out these gems and finding them through, I mean, all over India or all over world? Because you have some people working from outside. So, how was your experience with managing? And the biggest is, I'm sure there must have been so many creative conflicts. So, what was your way of resolving these conflicts, or how do you manage?
So our team, right? Our core team was in Pune, but I think Isaac was in Australia. Our 2D animator, Anirudh, our concept artist, is in Jaipur. Shreyas is our 3D artist. He's in Ratnagiri. Uh, Ted, our VFX artist, is in Brazil. Before that, Rafael, who was a VFX artist for Kickstarter, was also in Brazil. And we had Linus in Greece. So there was a whole remote side of things. And our narration writer was remote, our voice actors were remote. Of course, the pandemic happened, then everyone was remote. But we were kind of used to working remote with almost half the team. So I think, and then you have the deadline. So we had to just work. I guess there were no time for excuses. uh, how did we find the gems is like such a long story. Like it's all a lot of members of a team. We know them from from back in the 2014, 13, 2012, and they've gone in other studios, learned and done stuff, and we knew they were the right people to approach for this project. They had the passion. They were gamers themselves, or they wanted to be part of this unique journey. And I think the game itself attracted a lot of people. The game was very interesting for someone like Isaac or Ted or Linus to work on, because it gives you this special and unique experience. Uh, and I think they wanted to be part of this journey. And when we had a call, certain things click, certain things you're on the same parallel line, and I think that was fantastic. And we did go through a whole lot of applications before that, with whom people, which we didn't find that they would be the right fit because of the test they did, or because of the way. Uh, Most of the time it was the test. If nobody passes our test, we don't go further like any other company. So I think we were first looking out for people who can actually do the job, and then we were looking for people who were passionate team players. And that, I think that was it. And we all had this common ground that we all want to make it big with Raji. And yeah, that was the experience with the team. Regarding creative, uh, you know all that, how do we come on the same ground is, I think we do good. Raji was, the one thing a lot of people don't know, that what you're playing right on your PC right now, that was developed in 18 months. And a lot of people think this is a 4-year journey or 3-year, 3.5-year journey. It is a journey, but the actual product, where Kickstarter demo, if you've played it, it was totally different. And what we actually made and stepped up the game design, and added Parker, triple dodge, and a better combat system, and murals with storytelling, 2D cinematics. A whole lot of things were added, and it was no longer anywhere close to the Kickstarter demo. That was made only in 18 months. So there was very little time for creative conflict. We couldn't be sitting on a creative conflict for even a day. We had to come together, talk it out, figure out the most feasible way of doing certain things, and which would not result in just blowing up the game. And so a lot of things happen like that. Like I'm getting all these memories, like the murals you see where the story of Durga and is being narrated, and later other gods as well. Those were, kind of a feature creep, but I think all of us knew how important this feature is to tell the story. And I remember putting these, so Shruti had made these textures about demons going to a war, and the gods being there, and I just could see these are pictures, but we're not able to tell a story. They're part of the environment, but we need to tell a story also. So I prepared this whole Parker location with all these paintings, and I said, let's have narration here, and you guys, Shruti, you just have to make some specific stuff. And I think then Shruti, Ani, and Ian, they took this to a whole new level, saying we're gonna have 2D colored paintings. Then Paras came in like we're gonna have MSF to show which elements are being talked about, and of course, then the music was also designed specifically different for these areas. So, at certain points, team does come together for those moments, and then, as I said, your 3D cinematic was 2D cinematic. We did not have time for conflict or disagreement. We had to find the most optimal way of doing certain things if something did not work out. Like for example, Destructibles were part of Raji but did not make it in the game. They were part of these block out clips we used to share long time ago on a Facebook and Twitter. But unfortunately, we knew we do not have time to play around. So a lot of elements were cut, including this one. Uh, Another thing, I have said this on a previous podcast with Aman from Gamer Connect, and that there was a level, peacock level, which you actually control the peacock, but certain quality standards could not have been met because of lack of time, so we had to sacrifice that level, and we couldn't really make it in the game. So I think really trying to drive that level, that uh, how it should work and how everything should happen. Me and Deepam, who's a programmer for console, and Deepam worked with Jale for with on console porting. So Deepam also has worked on the puzzles, and I think he was working with me on that peacock flying level. And but I think we all came to this point, and I think Ian pointed it out that this will not get enough polish, and I was a little disappointment, but there was no time to have a disagreement. It was either we keep it and it's mediocre, or we have to remove it and rest of the game holds its quality. So I think that hard decision, team is usually on the same page with some of these things. Yeah.
So, by the way, I know Deepam for a long time. I know him for more than 2 years. Or he's been part of
Oh,
community,
great.
and yeah. So, also, let's finally, I have one pretty serious and pretty controversial sort of question. So, have you guys ever feared or thought about this that because we are using names like Vishnu, Brahma, and references, Indian mythological references are there. So, I mean, in today's time, for a news to portray good or bad, it doesn't even have to be correct or
Yeah.
right, right? So, what were your opinion on this, and what was uh, the your take on this whole subject? That uh, I mean, definitely there are very great people, but people with very aggressive nature and people with who just cannot take things light-mindedly. What were your suggestion or what was your expectation to them?
Yeah, so from the very first day, we knew this was a sensitive topic because we've had seen examples or have heard the news about what happened to Smite's Kali's skin, or what happened to the Hanuman game in 2008, or or you could just say even now what's happening with the TV series Tandav, which I have not seen, so I can't really comment on what happened in there. But we knew, yeah, there is probably controversy, a place where this could get controversial. But we were aware of this, and hence certain design decisions were kept in mind as a rule of thumb that we have to be respectful towards certain deities and gods, and I think we did that very very well. And coming from people, coming from an upbringing around Hindu culture, for most of the team, I think we knew what's offensive, what's not offensive, and how to deal with this. And, that helped us be on this path where we do not intentionally offend anyone. Unintentional, if someone's getting offended unintentionally, as you said, that happens all the time. And we did see, we had an article on Substance Painter. Someone was just outright offended, and someone asked him, did you read the plot? And they did not read the plot, of course. They did not read anything. They just assumed this is a game about killing gods. And I mean, I have no idea why. They could still read about the game even
Yep.
after that person asked the question, but sometimes some people do not want to engage any further, rather just be offended. So till that, for those people, we can't do anything.
Yep.
We really can't do anything. We really know to make something and keep it respectful, because this is also our culture. What we are representing is also part of our heritage, our upbringing, and that was what sparked the idea to represent stories, lores, and myths from our upbringing, the all the stories we've grown up with. And it's time for video games industry to get a taste of that. And how can we present it in a great fashion and most respectful way? And we've done that, and we knew we've done that. But if unintentionally someone still gets offended, there's very little you can do. So I guess we just went on and kept going on, and thankfully I think people received the game really well. A lot of people congratulated us on how we've handled the subject, and a lot of people enjoyed the subject. One of the best stories is someone on Twitter said they were using the narration at the Durga paintings, murals, to help their kid understand this story. And that's a win for us, that the game comes under edutainment. It's
Yep.
educational and entertainment
Entertainment.
at the same time for specific people. And yeah, I think we did a pretty great job with that. And so far, nobody wants to kill us. So I think we're doing good.
Yeah, and I think I totally believe that this is the way to keep the culture alive. Because if in 2021, if you don't digitize the literature, nobody gonna take look at that. Nobody gonna read the literature which are already there for so long, and
Yeah,
it
that's
is
so true. That is
just
so true.
just the
You know, right?
new way of transforming your content and introducing the content to other cultures as well. So I think what you have did is pretty fantastic job of representing the culture in a good light, and to people who never heard of these sort of things, get taste
Oh
of.
yeah,
Yeah.
someone from Russia emailed us, a fan. We have changed their entire life, and this is what the subject said. And I opened the email, and they're talking about how Raji introduced him to Indian culture, Hindu culture, and then he found out what Bollywood was, and then he just it changed his life. So
Wow.
for someone, they just found like there's this whole a portal to another world, and they're experiencing this now. So I think that's a big win for us,
It's a
as
big win.
developers and
Yes.
storytellers.
Yep.
Yeah, and I agree with your idea of digitization of certain aspects, because, yeah, a very good example. I think this happened last year or 2019. I'm not sure. My memories blur for these years. In Paris, there was the fire which broke out in the
Yep.
cathedral, and that same cathedral is in Assassin's Creed, I think.
Yeah.
And at least people will be able to see it how it actually looked in that game itself. Now, because it will be restored, and it probably won't be it's the same.
Yeah, there are so many people are having so much proud on this game, because yeah, whenever we play this game, we relate to it so much, because these are like the stories which we have heard from our grandmothers when we were a
Yeah,
child.
exactly.
So it's just give that kind of feel. The feel is there, and I don't want you to get late on your lunch. So yeah, I think this it's a wrap up for today's
Okay.
discussion, and we had a great context about Raji, and we discussed the entire story of how it's built. So yeah, thanks for sharing with us so many details about the game. And yeah, I hope you also enjoyed the interview. So
I did. That was lovely. Thank you for having me, Avi. And hopefully, we'll do this another time somewhere in the future too.
definitely. So thanks for being on the on the podcast. I'm really honored to have you on the show. And to the
Yeah.
listeners, thanks for watching our podcast. Please like it because that will help us reaching a lot more people. And please, if you can also share that. So yeah, that is it for today's session. We'll see you next week with another podcast. Thank you guys.